क्या म्यूट नहीं?
अरे उस बच्चे की वजह से हुआ है।
Sir, there's only one participant. There's just three of us. Hello.
Yes, ma'am.
Should I start this session only for you? I don't mind it.
Ma'am, give me some time. I drop a message in a group.
Okay.
Okay, ma'am. Wait, ma'am.
Yeah, yeah, sure. This. Okay, fine. I'll wait for another 5 minutes and see how it goes. All right.
चल मेडिसिन से
Okay, ma'am. Give me some time, ma'am.
Sure, sure, sure.
जल्दी होगी।
Can we start? It's almost 4:20.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, today's topic is very short. It's not a big thing. Uh, I'm sure most of you would have um, trained people or undergone training, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Right. So, what do you think whenever you're training any waste handlers? What are the things that you need to keep in mind? Or if any training, if you're undergoing, what things you'll keep in mind?
Ma'am, segregation should be proper in proper way.
No, no, I'm not talking about segregation or anything. Say, for example, right now I'm teaching you something or you're learning something. How do you think a teacher or a trainer or a facilitator should be? How should they train people?
Ma'am, the communication should be easy to understand.
Yes, very good.
Uh, then,
What do you know? What do you know about communication?
ma'am, communication can be verbal and non-verbal.
Okay, good. Verbal and non-verbal. Say, for example, right now, since you are not able to look at me at the most, only if I turn on the video, you'll be able to see me. If
Yes.
this is a virtual classroom where
Yes.
my presence is, you are heard. I'm heard most of the time. You may or may not see me, depending on whether I want to switch on the video or not. Suppose it's a conventional classroom where I'm standing in front of you and you're all sitting in front of me, then what should I how will that be when it comes to communication? What is the difference when you're taking an online class and when you're taking the offline in-person class?
Ma'am, offline class, online class, you can take it from anywhere.
Okay.
Either you are in a hospital setup, means any workplace or in your home. But in offline class, you should be in that infrastructure,
Yes.
and then the timing will be fixed for offline classes. But
Okay. But here online classes also this timing is fixed.
no, ma'am, I mean to say that I didn't mean that. I mean that mostly offline classes are going on in morning time only.
Okay, fine.
Uh-huh.
Then see whether you're interested in learning or not, or how we are sitting, or whether I am interested in teaching or not. You will get to know by lot of non-verbal cues you get, right?
Yes,
In a
ma'am.
offline class, in an online class, I'm not sure unless I make an effort to make it interactive.
Okay.
Unless I use other technological tools, I can use Kahoot or I can use some other technological techniques to get you on board or get you participate in the program, right? But whereas in a conventional classroom I can have a face to face talk, isn't it? And I can also know whether you are actually listening to me or not. I can assess whether whatever I have said you have understood or not. These are some of the advantages what a conventional thing has. But it doesn't mean that online you cannot assess. You can still assess, but the methods are little different. That's all. Okay, the methods how I engage
Yeah.
you or how I can do it is one thing. Now can anybody tell me how important communication is when you are handling any session or a training session? Have any one of you handled any training sessions to anybody, your own peers?
No, ma'am. I haven't.
You haven't. Have you at least taught anybody?
अभी बाद में देते फ्रिज में Yes.
Or most of you would have had some experience being students, na,
Yes, ma'am.
earlier. So what sort of classes would interest you the most? Do you remember any teacher who has had an influence on you?
Ma'am, whose his their teacher whose class is so much interested means
Yeah.
should be interested and easy to understand.
Mm-hmm. It has to be interesting. It has to be easy to understand.
Easy to understand. And
Then,
also with if it is with the aviates and all, then it will be so much interact and interaction should be there with the student and the teacher.
so that means there should be some interaction between the student and the teacher, and there should, if there is AV8s, it will help you to understand better. Agreed. Now, if you were to handle, say for example, I'm assuming that most of you are in the nursing field right now.
Yes.
Whoever is here, Pooja, Meera, and Seema, are all three of you in the nursing field, or is there any other difference?
Ma'am, I am in nursing field only.
Okay, how about Pooja?
Ma'am, I am dialysis technician.
What technician, ma?
Dialysis technician.
Dialysis technician. Okay. Seema,
Ma'am, good evening, ma'am.
good evening. You are
Ma'am, I'm also in nursing field, from nursing field.
nursing field. Okay. So we have two nursing fields and two. One is a dialysis technician. Right. If you have to teach somebody, now you're all in a place where you're a little higher up, and now if you have to teach whether the waste handler has uh, if you get a new set of waste handlers, a new set of people who do not know waste management in your setup, you may have to train them before they can start doing their work, right? So how will you train them? What are the things that you are going to use to train them? Did you understand my question?
No, ma'am.
How will you train any new set of people? Say it could be nurses, or it could be waste handlers, or it could be somebody else who's new to your system. It could be even a doctor also. Suddenly they are appointed, and then if they do not know what sort of waste management systems are there in your place, your superintendent might tell, please explain to them. So how will you do it?
Ma'am, first give an orientation about the setup.
Okay, orientation. How will you do the orientation? Will you make them sit in one place and start talking?
No, 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 ma'am. No.
Then what will you do? Tell me.
We'll give a round with them so that if
Okay,
it
you
is a
go around
WhatsApp,
with them. Good.
yes, if it's a WhatsApp setup, then we will go with them and we will explain each and everything so that
So that
they
they
can
understand.
easily understand.
Sure. So the same thing. For example, that if there is a doctor there, then we understand that they know certain things, but then to tell them how this system work, your system work, you will show them basically. Agreed. So if it is a waste handler, what will you do? Will you follow the same systems, or will you follow slightly different ones? I know
Ma'am,
you know.
for a waste handler, I think he don't need to come and take from the small areas. There will be in the backyard. There will be big bins. They need to
No,
collect.
yeah, fine. But what about those bins which are there in the ward, which needs to be transferred to the storage room before going to the common treatment facility? For that, who does that?
Waste care workers only.
Waste handlers only, no?
Huh.
So, how will you teach them? What would be your modality of teaching them? What is the difference between teaching nurses doctors, technicians, and waste handlers. So, what would be the difference between these four sets of people? All four are involved in generation, collection, and transportation of waste, isn't it? Doctors are the ones who generate, doctors and nurses are the ones who generate, even technicians to a certain extent. It's the
Their
waste handlers are
segregation
the
will be
ones who would.
important.
Yes, sir.
Their segregation of waste will be important.
I know, but my point here is how are you going to teach these different sets of people? What would be a modality by which you are going to orient them to your systems? How will you do it? Is there a
We'll have
difference?
SOPs regarding regarding the waste management, and
Okay,
it will be applicable to the people right from doctors to waste handler, but at different level.
okay,
Like segregation of waste is not a major issue for the people who are taking the waste,
okay.
basically, because it's already segregated. Only
Mm-hmm.
thing they have to take it, and they have to transport through the area which is should have no public or less public, in a closed container, to the
Okay.
place where we are storing the waste.
Mm,
Whereas the nurses and doctors,
mm,
their segregation is the most important thing,
mm,
and they need not take the waste,
mm,
basically, because it has to be stored in the respective containers depending on the
mm.
coding.
Okay.
And they will be the training will be given as per that only,
Okay. So
because
how will you train them, sir? How will you train them? Are you going to make them to sit in a class and you're going to lecture them? How exactly will you do it?
for the doctors and nurses, it is through uh, means training in a room as well as practical, because
Okay.
both are important.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas the fourth class people,
Mm-hmm.
uh, training will be through the demonstration only.
Okay.
It will
Good.
not classroom training, because depending on the background of the people,
All right. So
they may not
depending on
understand.
your on the background of the people and their capacity, you tend to train the way you need to train them. Fair enough.
Yeah.
So if it is a doctor or a nurse, or let me put it across whether they're a doctor or a nurse, let's look at their role in the waste management. In the role of the doctors and nurses and technicians are mostly generation, so they should be knowing very good things about segregation. Now, how you teach them? The reason here why we are bringing in it, because they have an educational background and they may understand written matter and text matter. You can have a written document that is given to them to read also. They may understand and do it
Yeah.
if you look at doctors and nurses. But what is the can we understand what is the advantage or disadvantages between these two things? Using an AV aid versus just a reading material, using a discussion method versus one way talking where the person is only talking and the others are hearing. So how
But
would these
then
two things differ?
the queries need to be addressed, no? Because whether it is the people who are illiterate or the literate people, once
Okay.
it is a two-phase communication, they can have many queries, because the material which is given to them,
Mm-hmm.
they it depends on the understanding, because if single sentence is written,
Okay.
people can have two perceptions,
Okay.
and once it is a two-way communication,
Mm-hmm.
whatever the query is there, they can get it resolved then and there, so that whatever the message the instructor want to give, only that message should be perceived.
Okay, so which do you think is better? You feel asking them to read up and then come back to the session, have a discussion, and clear the doubts. Is that what you're trying to say, sir?
Oh, I think when we are using visual audio
Ah,
together, and we are discussing,
mm-hmm.
then and that is the best thing.
Oh,
Wherever,
yes, you're right. So you're trying to say that having, rather than just giving something to read, Better to have a audio visual aid, so
Yeah.
that, and have a discussion where it goes in, they will be able to understand what exactly you are trying to say, and the chances of miscommunication or chances of misunderstanding would be very less. Agreed.
And
Whoever
feedback
it
is
might
very
be.
important after the training. We need to have a feedback as well as the post training test. I think that
Exactly.
that
you
really
you can do
complete.
a pre-test, that is before starting of the training, what exactly they know. Based on that, you can also do a post-test after training, what has been their gain in the knowledge or skill or practice, right? Can I check the practice immediately after training?
Yeah, absolutely, no issue. Because if it is well understood, that means you have understood, then only you can write. Later on, it will
Okay.
be chances are much less.
Okay, what I would prefer was, though you can check it immediately as to what practice that is given, that is still under scrutiny. They do it. So the
Correct.
best way to really assess whether they have learnt or not is to observe them on the job, and how much of your training has really made an impact there.
Correct. Correct.
So we also need to have that continuum of assessment,
Online.
practice, when they are on the job. So what will happen
Correct.
is, you will get to know whatever you have done, whether they have understood or not. When that feedback is given back to you, stating that if you find some mistakes in what they are doing, suppose they are not using their personal protective equipment, or they are they are mixing up of waste, then maybe you can get back and then see how you can modify your instructional aid, that is your AV aid, or your
Correct.
instructions to them. So that forms a feedback whether your training was effective or not. For
Correct.
example, I'll tell you, you have undergone this course of certificate course in waste management, right? Now, because of this course, if there is any change either in your practice or your knowledge, if there is a change in the knowledge, we cannot assume that the practice will change.
Correct.
There definitely be a change in your knowledge because you have learned certain things. The ultimate change comes the change even in the practice also. What was practiced earlier, there should be some improvement in your systems after you have undergone some course. That is what the management would do, and that is what maybe you are also aiming at. Some
And
change.
hand hygiene is the best example of that.
Sir,
Hand hygiene is the best
hand
example.
hygiene is the best example. Okay, what was not practiced earlier can be started, and you can start practicing it on a regular basis even this time also. So that would be one thing. Or maintaining your segregation throughout, right from the point of generation to the storage and the common treatment facilities, and another thing what you can look at. So today's actual topic of discussion is training of waste handlers. So what precautions, or what do we do if we have to train them? Now, first and the foremost thing, if you are training somebody, you should know what you are doing.
Correct.
So our knowledge should be complete. It is like this: if the teacher does not know the subject and using very nice AV aids, so you can show a movie, you can show a lot of other videos wherever it is from, but as a teacher, if I do not know my subject, if I do not know what I'm trying to come across to the others, or what I'm trying to say, then the whole purpose is lost despite having a very good audio visual aid. So the first thing, whoever is trying to train, the trainer should be better off than the trainee in all aspects, in the knowledge aspect, in the attitude aspect, and as well as in the practice what they do. If
But ma'am, the real factors in the field, these people are outsourced and only controlled by a contractor, and they get 1 or 2 day training for waste
so, just
handling
a
as
minute,
well as.
just a minute. I'm
Can I?
sorry for that. Yeah, please, sir, go ahead.
The reality is that most of the hospital they have outsourced this biowaste management people as well as housekeeping people,
Hmm.
and they give 2 days training to the people
Hmm.
given by the same contractor only.
Hmm.
So during the audit, whenever we went for audit, we asked these people to demonstrate, like
Hmm.
a simple question: how many type of spill are there?
Hmm.
So if the instructions are not very clear about the
Hmm.
spill,
Hmm.
so how they will, how, as you said, the trainer should know first.
Yes.
So what hospital is doing, they are just shedding the responsibilities on their shoulders,
Hmm.
and they said it's basically outsourced. And these people reach everywhere in the hospital, and like housekeeping people as well as the waste management people, and they have access to each and every patient also. So the infection control is very very important. If these people are not given proper training, as you said, one should ensure it. But reality is that they are not spending money on these people to train, because
Sir,
as such
I get
the
your point. I
yeah,
get your point, what you're trying to say.
yeah,
Now, who, as per the rules, whether you are outsourcing the people to outsourcing it to a company to waste handle it, or whether you are doing employing people and doing it, it is the responsibility of the occupier.
vicarious liabilities, vicarious
Oc-
liability lie on management.
Liability, I mean, the responsibility or vicarious liability lies with the administrator of the hospital,
Correct.
right? Whoever is the administrator and whoever has the powers to call the shots are the ones who are responsible. So if this is not done properly, I know the outsourcing company may not spend or may not give that importance. Now whenever you are outsourcing these things to these out companies, you may come with an MOU stating that you cannot change the people every month. At least for 3 months they should continue to work in the hospital.
Yeah.
Yeah, such kind of MOU clauses or something can always be taken, so that you ensure that only trained people are there in your hospital. You can decide your frequency of training, maybe once in 3 months or once in a month. It's up to you, whichever is your convenient. This thing you can decide and ensure that only trained people are the ones who will be working in this hospital, because it is important that even they know how to use a personal protective equipment. They should also be aware of what a needle stick injury is, because they are the ones who will get exposed more often than any of the other um, members in the hospital, be it an administrator or a doctor or a nurse for that matter. Because if the doctor or a nurse does a mistake in segregation, especially the shafts, they may or they may not be affected, but definitely the class 4 employee will be affected, because you ask him or her to segregate or to carry the waste to some other place. In this process they are the ones who's going to be affected. So the negligence on the part of either the doctor or a nurse is going to affect somebody else. So they should be held responsible for even these things also, right? So as per the
Correct.
rule, this is what it states. So it is up to the hospital to make arrangements that whoever is working there, they have to be trained. Even the rules also say the same thing. And your training method and materials, whatever you are using, should also be the documentation should be stored, so that whenever there is an audit that happens, be it an accreditation audit or inspection by any of the pollution control boards, you should be able to show them the proof that this has happened. And this we have trained them, no doubt. Despite training, despite telling everything, sometimes the waste handlers may not do their job accordingly. It is not with one time you train and they're going to learn and they're going to do. No, let's not expect that. It's not possible. We have to keep training and retraining, especially on the job training might be more important for a waste handler when compared to a doctor or a nurse. Because for a doctor or a nurse, sometimes waste management would be a part of their curriculum where they are taught this is how it needs to be segregated, this is what happens to the waste. As a part of their graduation training itself, they are trained. Whereas for a waste handler, they only come for a short duration of time. They would have worked in various different places. Then they may or they may not have an hospital exposure at all. So it is important that we train them because they are the link to keep the system intact and to see that the things move smoothly. For that, the doctors and nurses also should know the content of waste management. They should be knowing it and they should be practicing it, because if you do not practice and tell the waste handler, they may not listen to you. As it is, they don't listen, and on top of it, if you don't practice what you preach, it depends all the more difficult for us to establish the system. Right, I let me share a few um, is my screen visible?
Yes, ma'am.
Is it
Yes, ma'am.
visible? Okay. So one thing what most of us would agree is what I hear, I forget, because our talking few minutes down the lane, Ayushi said something, I forgot everything whatever they said. It was so nice, but I forgot. If I see something, maybe I will remember, but still there are chances that I'll forget. But if I do it, if there is a muscle memory that is created, you will not generally forget it. For example, I don't know how many of you have learned cycling or swimming when you are young. Even though you don't cycle, even though you don't swim, but the moment if you hit water or the moment you start pedaling the cycle, you will definitely do it without any problem, because it's a muscle memory that has been created. So doing similarly for you people now, if you do something, you will learn and remember it better, and you will be able to write your answers also easily because you have done it and you know what you have done. Now let's understand, being a child, when you were in school, the way you were taught was different, and now how you are learning is also different. Can somebody tell me what is the difference between the two? In school, how you learned and how you are learning here as an adult. Is there a difference?
Yeah, there is a lot of difference.
What's the difference, sir? What do you find the difference is?
In school, you need to be clear your basics first. Means
Okay. Okay.
whether you understand or not.
Hmm.
When you are adult, you understand,
Ah,
but only retaining power of that is difficult.
okay.
So if you keep on practicing, you
Mm-hmm.
are likely to remember or likely to practice more.
Okay.
Means you can means sorry, then only you can practice that thing regularly.
Okay. So,
Whereas
but
in school, you
ah,
keep on remembering means you
mm,
cram it,
mm,
and then you are likely even without understanding also, if you
mm-hmm,
keep on repeating the thing,
mm-hmm.
that becomes a part of your memory. Whereas an
Okay.
adult, it is likely to practice more because your retaining power as compared to child
Mm-hmm.
is less. So
Okay.
need to be practiced as rightly said. You need to be respected whenever you need to be acknowledged also.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah, and that is I think the
Okay.
difference.
Okay. So, but when as a child in school, if you look at it, You are expected to learn certain things. They'll only tell you, you learn this. For example, if you are a science student and you're asked to, you're a science student, more interested in biology, but there is maths as a subject for you, right? You kind of question. Even now there are many students who question, why should I learn social sciences, or why should I learn mathematics? What importance that I have when I'm not interested in? What I'm trying to say here is, you are expected to learn. There are some strict things which are implemented, but as an adult, for example, I'll tell you, suppose there are people, though they are in the medicine field, but if they are interested in computers and the way the computers work and how computers can be, or AI or anything can be implemented for health, sure they will learn something on their own. For example, you right now, what made you to take up the certificate course? Is there a reason behind this?
Yeah, definitely. There is a reason behind it.
What's the
It's,
reason?
I think the gaps which we are having in the knowledge as well as in practice, I think
Okay, so
by going through this,
okay,
both
you
will
have
be.
realized there is some amount of gaps, so that's why you want to bridge the gap by adding this. Any others who are here who wanted to take up this? Anybody else? The reason why they took up the certificate course?
Ma'am, new updation is always coming, so we need to update as per.
Okay, so you wanted to update your knowledge. Okay, anybody else? Anything else? Is this certificate going to help you in any way?
मैम इससे हम किसी को सिखा सकते हैं कि कैसे अपने आप को प्रिवेंट करें और अपने एनवायरनमेंट को प्रिवेंट करें, अपने हॉस्पिटल को इन्फेक्शन से बचाएं।
ठीक है, इससे कुछ फायदा है आपको पर्सनली? कुछ फायदा है?
हाँ मैम है।
क्या है? शायद
मैम
शायद आपको थोड़ा ज़्यादा और रिस्पॉन्सिबिलिटी देंगे, या फिर आपको you may get a better post, or they may value this particular certificate telling that, okay, she is trained person in this, I can use this. So whenever, as an adult, when we are choosing, we choose this because out of our own self motivation, just like what the other two said. हमें कुछ जानना चाहिए था, नॉलेज ज़्यादा गेन करना है. There are some gaps which I wanted to understand, and they're very practical. Now if I start giving you theories about certain things, you will not accept, because you know for sure how it is done on the ground. Just as sir was telling, we outsource the housekeeping people, we outsource certain other waste handlers and waste handling things issues. So these are ground realities. If I tell, no, no, you cannot outsource, this is not how it is being done, you're not going to take me seriously, and you will not either agree for it, right? So it has to be very practical, it has to be ground level and not theoretical. Just telling the same thing, you can as well read it, I don't need to tell that for you. So, and another thing, they need to be respected because they have an experience behind them. There is an experience, and based on that experience they would have had their own ideas. We need to respect them. The same thing with respect to even a waste handler also. I'll tell you one example. Even before the BMW rules of 2016 came in, we had the 1998 rules of BMW. I'm not sure how many of you know about it, but before these rules came in, the idea was to contain the needles. Right? Even today we do the same thing. How do we do it? Nobody knew. There were no rules or there were no such regulations for it. So the situation or the necessity to contain the needles, because if I throw the needles, it's going to harm somebody. some of the nurses came up with a brilliant idea. What they did was, we had the IV bottles, right? The plastic IV bottles. Even today, we have the same thing. All they did was they just pierced the needles all along the bottle. You understand? Like how we have our क्या बोलते हैं इसको, जो पिन नीडल्स रहते हैं ना, we just pierce it inside so that the sharp tip is inside and the blunt thing is on the outer side, right? Some other person, what they did, they put the plaster of Paris inside that, so that all the sharp tips of the needles are inside the bottle, and the plaster of Paris, whatever is there, when it's poured inside, it solidifies. So there is no way that this would harm anybody. So this one of the nurses came up with. And sometimes if there is something which is there on the ground, some solid way, say for example you have dressings or cotton swab that is lying on the ground, you don't want to use your hands to pick it up. At that point of time, gloves also was not given to any of the waste handlers. But without touching it, a waste handler picked up that waste and put it in the appropriate dustbin. You know what he did? He just split the broom into two and tried to pick it up like a fork and did it. So these are experiences. By experience, they have learned these things. So we need to respect those and also acknowledge if they come up with any such kind of practical solutions to day-to-day problems what we see. So those needs to be respected for any adult for that matter. So if you are starting any training session for it, first and the foremost thing is to create an interest in that. Suppose I start off very boringly, today's topic is so and so, something, nobody would be interested in hearing me. Right? How can I make this waste interesting is something which you will ask me. Anybody has any anecdotes to tell? Some experiences of them?
Experience regarding madam what?
How to make a waste management is itself a topic which is generally not given importance.
Correct.
Now you're asking them to sit for waste management discussion or a teaching session or a training session. How do you want it to make it interesting to them, or at least invoke some amount of interest?
A role play. I think role play will
Okay,
be
one role play. Yes, very good. You can evoke some interest by doing a role play about any aspect. Then you can ask them to narrate any experiences they have.
correct.
Right? The more you involve them by asking their inputs, they would have that motivation to learn more, or they might try and listen to you at least. So the first thing is to evoke an interest in the discussion, maintain an eye contact so that there's some rapport with the participants. You may relate it to previous topic of discuss what I've written, but you may relate it to any of their daily life experiences what they have. Give them as real life experiences as possible, and in the end, summarize and take home points is what you need to look at whenever you're conducting any training session. Now, what is the advantages of having lot of interaction? You go back to the first slide when I said, when I see, I forget. When I do, I remember, right? Or when I hear, I forget. Similarly, the more they are involved, the more the chances that they will learn and retain it. And another thing, whenever you are interacting, you get to know what the other person is thinking and also you can clear if there are any conceptual differences in the way they are handling that particular issue. If they have any doubts, that can be cleared. So the only disadvantage is there are some people who talk a lot and they derail the discussion completely. They may go tangentially. That is where the problem comes in case of interactive sessions. Otherwise, more the interaction, the better it is. But the interaction should be relevant to the subject of the discussion. Suppose in this same topic, instead of talking waste management, if I talk about something, some social media discussion, or if I talk about something which is not relevant to the particular topic, then you are only wasting the time, right? So you have to be, and interaction, the more we say interaction is good, but interaction depends on how comfortable the person handling the session is in handling interaction. Some, not all of them are very good at handling interactions or having a conversation, one-to-one conversation. Some may have their own limitations. Whenever they have their own limitation, they can bring in some other method, so that if they are not able to interact, they can get the people to interact among themselves. Even that also would help them understand each other and learn better. So that is with regard to whenever you're trying to put a concept across to the people. Now, suppose you want to demonstrate something. For example, spill management is something which you need to demonstrate, or demonstrate how you need to wear a gloves and how you need to remove it. Similarly, any of the personal protective equipment, there is an order how you need to wear them, and an order how you need to remove them. It is important for them to learn the order, and it is also important for them to understand why that particular order is being maintained. What happens if the order is missed? So these are some things which you need to demonstrate to them, so that they understand the order and they also understand the reasoning behind why that particular order has been kept. In any skill that is there, you need to demonstrate it adequately. And what precautions you need to take when you are demonstrating, you should ensure that everybody is actively participating there, and whatever you are demonstrating is visible to all. And any demonstration you do, don't do it wrong unless you are expecting them to correct you. Okay, so you need to get them to ask as many questions as possible, take their suggestions also, because they would have used it, they would have done something. Then even if they have done something wrong also, it is okay to share it with everybody, so that the others may not repeat the same mistake as what this person has done. But for that to happen, you should have an environment where the person is not threatened or does not feel embarrassed to share their mistakes. So that lies with you to make that environment as friendly as possible, learning environment, what we call it as, so that they learn from each other, even though if it's a mistake. Okay, so this is something what you need to keep in mind whenever you're handling any training session for that matter. Especially for waste handlers, it is always better to teach them in a way where they can understand, especially by demonstration or using a lot of AV skills, AV aids. Now, the only disadvantages for us in demonstration is that when it is a large gathering, it will take some time. You may not be able to demonstrate completely to to all of them. So you need to plan. If there is a demonstration that is there, better to have the group smaller, so that everybody can see it, and select what needs to be demonstrated. Now, there is no way that you can demonstrate in front of them, but there is a large gathering, and I need to teach all of these people method of, say, for example, in COVID, suddenly we had to teach everybody how to don and doff a personal protective equipment, because That was the need of the hour at that point of time. How can I do it? The large numbers. I don't have the time to get everybody to learn it one by one. The best way, you can still use an AV8, and then in groups you can correct them whenever they are doing something wrong, right? You can have your posters, pamphlets that are there, posters wherever they are donning and doffing, you can have the correct stepwise description you can have. And then you can also show a video where they don and doff so that they see and then understand. Give them some time for practice, get somebody else also to see them, observe them. So this way you can ensure that it is communicated well to them, and at the same time they also have understood the skill. Now whenever you are training any waste handler for that matter, better it is in their own language. Just now when I was speaking with you all, somebody spoke back to me in Hindi. Hindi is not my mother tongue, but I try and do it. So जो भी language उनको पता है, whichever is a vernacular language they speak. Sometimes when you have outsourced these people to any company or anything, you may have people in different vernacular language. For example, you can have a Hindi speaking guy speaking, working in a hospital in Bangalore, or working in a hospital in Tamil Nadu or Chennai. So you need to go that extra mile for us to demonstrate and see. In that case, what do we do? Even though we do not know the language he speaks, whenever you're using an AV aid where it is visible to the eye, they can at least understand a lot of it, even though you're not communicating in their own vernacular language. So it has to be less of didactic teaching, in the sense one person teaches and the others hear. More the interaction and demonstration, the better they would understand and do their job. So, and all the adult learning principles of motivating them and seeing that the whatever we are teaching is relevant to them, and respecting them. We have to understand what sort of background they come from and why they're doing, or why they're doing this course, or why this demonstration, or why this training they're attending. So all these principles need to be applied to them whenever we are doing the training to, especially the waste handlers. It is better if you keep it half a day or one day. Half a day is more than enough, because it entails whatever the jobs that the waste handler. This is a suggestion. If you want to do it 2 days or 3 days, you're welcome. Uh, Usually, we tend to have for a waste handler a half a day session is more than enough for them, because you can also train them on the job too. The waste handlers, they need to be trained on issues of segregation, disinfection, transportation, and use of PPE. Training and retraining is very much necessary, because today the waste handler is here in the hospital. The outsourcing company can get that person, he'll say, no, no, you don't come to the hospital today, you go somewhere else. Right? So therefore, even if you're having a frequency of 3 months, once in 3 months or once a month, it is better to train and retrain them. And most of the waste handlers are actually are under the direct observation of most of the nursing faculty. The nurses are the ones who really have a very keen eye to observe whether the waste handler is doing it properly or not. They can always uh, correct them and teach them the right way. And another thing what I've noticed is these waste handlers actually listen to the nurses more and better when compared to the doctor. So every training, whatever activity you do, you need to have a report, because a documentation is necessary. The rules are asked. You can have this as a template for you to create a report. Like say, when was this training conducted? Who were the trainers? Who were the trainees? How many number was there? And if there is any inauguration or anything, you can have those. Or what were the topics that were discussed? What were the conclusions that you have? And then go in for a, and then make a summary out of it. If there are any annexures in terms of, like say, photographs, or if you have demonstrated anything, how the trainees have learned it after the demonstration and performed it, if they perform any role play, all those things can be documented, so that next time anybody takes the same training session, they have a template, or they know what needs to be done, or they can at least guess what needs to be done from this report. And another thing, this report definitely will help you to um, to submit in the annual report of the biomedical waste management, which you need to submit to the pollution control board. If there are any mistakes which the waste handler does, you can correct it then and there itself in their understanding. So this is in brief, very brief, about how to go about conducting a training or anything of it. Now, what you need to do here is, apart from creating reporting of this, you also you can use this template to improvise it. Each time you do it, you can improvise either your interaction skills or demonstration skills. It is preferable to have a pre-test and a post-test to understand how much of the difference in knowledge they have had. So these are some of the things which you can also incorporate whenever you're training. You may ask me, the waste handlers do not know how to read or write. But off late, most of them, I think, at least know how to read and write in the vernacular language. If they do not know how to read and write, you can frame questions such a way there is always a um, for segregation. You can use the bins, like say yellow, red, white, and this, and then you can provide the items, waste items, and ask them to put where do you think this will go. In that way, you're assessing their segregation, how good the segregation skills are. You can ask them to wear any PPE or remove any PPE. These are hands-on, which when you do it, they will be able to grasp it better and do it better. Your training materials, whatever you have prepared, it should have a lot of pictures in it, because whether they read or not, seeing a picture, they should be able to understand. And there should not be any ambiguity when you're looking at the picture. The message should be very clear, and it should be the same message that is understood by everybody. It can't be ambiguous, where it can't be like an abstract painting. Basically, it should be very clearly mentioned or very clearly understood the same way by everybody, so that there won't be any mistakes in understanding it. These are some tips which you can always use for training any waste handlers. And it is preferred if you can use a flip chart. You know what a flip chart is?
Yes.
It will be like your tabletop calendar, something like this. You can this is blank here, see, this is like this. So here you can have your materials that are there, and you can also have the same thing written here. You read it from here, at the same time the waste handler can also look at it on this side. Back side you can have the written thing. Front you can have lot of pictures there depicting what you're trying to say. So one page you can have one concept written there. So these are it may take little effort to create them, but once created you can use it as long as it is possible. Of course, nowadays lot of videos are available online videos are available, where you can always use them for training. Once a video is made, you can use that for training for so many people. You can use it for training of nurses, doctors, depending on the content of it. And you can also curate how much you want to use it, whether it is a doctor or a nurse, or whether it is a waste handler. You can always do that. That is the advantage of creating this training materials prior and keeping it, so that you can use it whenever you require it for your convenience and for the way you want. Yes, sir. Is there anything I can clarify you? This is sum and substance about this session on training waste handlers. If
No,
I
ma'am, it's absolutely clear. Whatever the doubts are there, that was also addressed.
yes,
So
sir.
absolutely clear.
Sir,
Absolutely clear, ma'am.
thank you, sir. Thank you. Is there, if anybody has any doubts or any clarifications to ask, you're welcome.
नो मैम, नहीं है कुछ.
No? Can I close the session?
थैंक यू सो मच मैम.
Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank
you,
you, sir.
ma'am.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you, ma'am.